Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. I'm at the Museum of Broadway, where I caught up with the multifaceted leading man from New York, New York, Colton Ryan. You are so wonderful in New York, New York, of what you do 8 times a week.
Thank you.
How special is this show to you?
Well, I want to say first, because I want to thank you first, okay? Because you do this for long enough, you realize that not everyone's very nice, but you've always been nice to me since the minute we started.
Thank you.
And even sitting here with you, I appreciate it. That being said,
Thank you for that.
of course, it kind of goes in line with why I feel this is so, and why I'm so enamored with this whole experience.
Yeah.
Because in so many ways, these 10 blocks have been sort of like a spiritual college for me. You met me when I first came to the city, and it was for Evan Hansen, and that kind of stripped me out of my life, and started me on my new one. And back then I used to be pretty. I was a child. I was genuinely a child, and I've had a fun sort of roundabout other way back here. I kind of left home and came, and this is sort of like homecoming for me. And then, of course, the show itself, being John and the late Fred, and being, I'm actually singing some songs in it that, I sang in the car lovingly with no one, that kind of singing, pure unadulterated adoration. And the fact that I'm actually now contextually singing them on a Broadway stage, being the first person to do some of them, it's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you play so many instruments in this show too. How many do you play?
If you combine all the percussion together,
Okay.
I play 7.
Okay,
Total.
how many instruments did you know before you got cast in New York, New York?
Yep, practically none. But there is one that I did know, because of course when I got the part, you've seen the number where I kind of go through them all. It's sort of my my Henry Higgins, like let a woman in your life. It's kind of a zany, that kind of number, right, in the placement in the show. And to make it as zany as possible, it didn't clarify what instruments they would be. It just lovingly said, like, well, he grabs instrument 1 and instrument 2, and it's yada yada yada, and it just gets crazier and crazier. And I'm very lucky that I was brought in seemingly pretty early in the process, and they asked me the same thing: do you play anything? And I said I play guitar, and they were like, boring. And I was like, okay, shoot, I don't really do anything else. And then it dawned on me quickly that, because to me it's profoundly funny, but I said, actually, somewhere deep in my memory banks, I'm realizing that I don't just play. I was first chair all county 3 years in a row, playing the tuba for my middle school band. And they also found that quite funny. So that got slotted in as instrument 2, and then the rest we kind of built from there. And then, of course, you saw the show, I play a jazz pianist. And I didn't want to go halvesies on that. I wanted to, and I practically failed keyboard in college, so that was its own sort of Everest to climb. But that was 6 months of study, and then the string ones, of course, and then the saxophone, which is a loving homage to De Niro and the sort of iconic imagery of the film. But that was a later thought, unfortunately. That was a December thought. It was like, hey, what if we? And I was like, we could have. Sure, yeah. Really wish we'd thought of this about a year ago.
Yeah, you could have told me this 6 months ago.
Sure. But I picked up lessons on that one, and I was still doing lessons well after first preview, but now we got it down pretty tight.
Because you're really good at them. I remember we met at the meet and greet. They were like, he has to leave. He's got to learn. I
had a lesson that day.
You had a lesson that day. I don't know what you were learning that day.
I don't either. They become quite a blur after a while.
Yeah, and tap dancing above the city on girders. Susan Stroman, tap dancing.
Right.
Did you tap before?
Practically no.
Did they ask you that after? Do you play instruments? Do you tap dance?
Well, I had already read the script, and and of course I immediately thought it was just absolutely, as only she could imagine it. But immediately knowing her and reading on the page, like, it showed the picture of the the men eating lunch on the construction beam, and it was like, of course this has to be a tap number. Of course it does. So I could see in my mind's eye. But I met with her, and she was very kind and sort of gave me the leading man treatment of sort of like, well, don't worry about it. If you don't really get it, we'll just have you step off to the side, and we'll, I'll let my Stro girls do their thing. And I thought to myself, well, I want to be a Stro girl, and if I'm going to do this, but also really I was doing the math in my head. I was like, steel beams, just the one, and I'm supposed to step off to the side. Where the fuck am I going to go? I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm going to get out of this. Not believably, unless I go, hey guys, there's some scaffolding down here. So I took that as a real call to arms challenge as well, and I said, okay. So I had about 6 months in the studio for that as well.
Wow.
Concurrent with my piano lessons. That was all sort of prep beforehand. And I was very lucky. My associate choreographer and director, Tara Young, she helped me a lot just with the actual choreo that we were going to do for the show. But I also would moonlight over at the Broadway Dance Center in the back with a very large hat on, and I would stand in the back and I would try to. It's no joke over there. They're really good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, those kids are unbelievable. They'll pick up something 5 minutes in, and actually, this is quite embarrassing. But one day, my last lesson I did there, of course, was I had to sign. Well, effectively, when you checked into the class that day, it said in very small print that I did not read beforehand that you were essentially signing a waiver over for your likeness because they were filming a promotional video that day of class. Yeah, and that's the way I felt about it. And I immediately had panic. It actually does exist on their Instagram. I've been blurred out so lovingly, and I'm thankful whoever. I'm sure they watched this. This is unusable. But I am in the back, and it still gives me a chuckle. It's a very humbling thing to revisit.
But now they could all come to Broadway and see you do this at the St. James.
I have other video proof that shows I can do it. Yeah. So, holding both truths,
Let's talk about John Kander.
Yep.
I mean, Freddie's up in heaven looking down or whatever, but I mean, I adore those men, and I adore John Kander. Mm-hmm. And you and I spoke about this before. Being in the room with John Kander and getting him to play for you and teach you stuff, and being in the presence of John Kander, what that's like for you, Colton.
I love John so much. And he loves me, which is just the kind of most bewildering thing in the world. Because my whole life, like I said, I have such a love-hate relationship with this art form in general. And because I love it so much, but it can just, it can fall, it can crater so hard. And John and Fred, to me, are some of the original, I mean, they're kind of the blueprint for this art form being dignified nationally, culturally. I mean, they're one of the few composers I can name that I would tell my, and my buddies back at home, or my mother's neighbors. I'm doing a Kander and Ebb musical, Chicago Cabaret. If they don't get it on the first try, they get it by then. Cabaret. And I don't know, to be in the presence of someone who not only did it, but did it with such integrity their entire life and never compromised on truth in this art form. That's, and to know that man approves of me in some way is, and is written for me now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of also unbelievable. I mean, only I guess probably now about 8 to 12 weeks ago did this man with Lynn write a song. He told me, with my voice in his head, which I can't even, I get.
Which one?
The Grand Central Terminal section.
Yeah.
That was, it was a musical moment, and then it wasn't for a while, and I think that always was a thorn in his side. He was like, it's something here. And he went back at it again this round. And it's one of my, every night it's so easy to do because it's just so honest. And only someone, I've watched him do it up close. That's the only thing he asks of you, is just to be honest. And that is such a monumental ask, I think, for all of us. But especially, I think, in this art form, it can be a monumental ask. And he asked nothing else of me. And so that's my only mission.
You know, because you've done some incredible work already. You did Dear Evan Hansen, you did Girl from the North Country, but to have somebody write something for you,
Yeah.
you know, at the caliber of John Kander, Lin-Manuel Miranda, it's
Right.
like, you know, it's got to be a pinch me moment. Like, you know, you dream of coming to Broadway, or maybe I'll be on Broadway one day, maybe I'll get in a show,
Right.
you know, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, we want to write something for you. And then
Right.
John's like, this is a thorn in his side saying, I'm going to make this work for Colton.
Right.
And then you're handed that. It is a quiet thing, and I mean that in the best way.
It is.
Because you get to sing that in that show.
Yeah, you should have seen me that day. The nomination came out and I sang that song. That was a kooky experience. But no, I mean, to your point, I kind of hoped one day that maybe I'd make it to Broadway one time, maybe twice in my life, if I was lucky. And I kind of, being from a smaller town experience, I guess I never really understood that work could be new. They just kind of appeared on my iTunes
Yeah.
at the time, you know, or they came through Louisville and we'd go see them. But never did they appear. Never did it occur to me in that limited understanding that someone would be in a room someday being like, scratch that, you know, like it just kind of felt like musicals fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
And so my hope was maybe, knowing what I do, maybe I'll be on Broadway one time and maybe it'll be something like a Kander and Ebb musical. And then I came to New York and I unfortunately caught the bug very early. You know, I joined Evan Hansen very late in this process, but I was around enough to know that I caught the bug pretty hard. I mean, new work is just the most noble thing you can, I think, you know, go after. And so to find somewhere right in the middle with this 96-year-old man, someone who has done it, doesn't need to do it anymore, and yet still in the most noble way persists on, and invited me into the room. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll probably be able to fully understand any of this until well after it's over.
What gives you the greatest joy of doing this show 8 times a week?
The audience. Because they give me so much faith. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're doing, really, we are taking the wheel and doing it, I think, the best it can be. And I can feel with the audience that they're so appreciative of it. And it's honestly such a strange thing to watch so many, 1,700 people, which is a big house, but to look up all the way and see a unified sense of pride. I mean, just like, not only to see it, but to receive it and feel it. And when they sing that song at the end, we kind of turn the mic over. Because the show's a very big one. It takes a lot of turns, like John does, you know. Kander and Ebb, they don't let you go through 2.5 hours without challenging you a little bit. But when we get to the end and we turn the mic around and we let them sort of close us out, it's, well, you felt it.
Yeah.
It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's pretty electric.
One of my final questions for you is, you work so hard in this show. How do you prep for these shows? Like, what do you do to stay healthy and just to prep for this, to do this 8 times a week?
Let me tell you, it's a learning experience on the go, because as much as I think I've been training my whole life to do this, I am being woken up every day to realize, oh, I haven't done this before. This shit is no joke. And I drink about 1.5 gallons of water every day. I pee every 4 minutes now. That's been an awful revelatory thing in my life. But in all seriousness, I am thankful, because I don't know if there's anything that I do specifically to prepare in a linear way. I don't do the same stretch every day or anything like that. But I do find consistently the kind of gift of being in the theater, or life in the theater at all, is that I have to continually check in with myself, which I don't think we do very often. Just to ask myself, how am I actually doing today? And have to be blunt, honest about it. And that's been a humbling thing.
Yeah.
Because I have to actually, no matter what it is, I have to be okay with it. And I have to figure out a way forward to go out there and still do the magic trick for everybody.
Yeah.
And say, I'm in complete control here. You're okay. Take a seat. kick back for a little bit. And I've never been so proud of myself in my life, to be honest.
Finally, what does this Tony nomination mean to you?
I know with awards and stuff, it means a lot and it means little. And the one thing I am, as I get older and I've thought more about why I might want something like this, if it just brings more access to more art into my life, then it is the best thing that could have ever happened, you know. So I'm just hoping there'll be more art. That's all.
Well, that's what you make. You're terrific at what you do, my friend.
Thank you.
Enjoy the journey you're on, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Thank you.